welcome to the Swift Half, your weekly session of chat from the UK OCR and adventure running scene. Each week, pub landlord Alan and our favourite regular Ian discuss races, runners and anything else that comes to mind. So pull up a pew, pour yourself a drink and join us for the Swift Half.
Ian, my friend, welcome into the Swift Half. How are you?
I'm great, Alan. I love this time of year, August and that, because it's so quiet. We can just talk about nonsense because there's absolutely no news this time of year.
Not a single thing going off. It's shocking that we've had to dig deep to find news for this week. It was like, where do we find it from? Let's dig deep and let's find something, and we've had to find something.
We did, and thanks to all the Patreons who have helped us by spreading the word of those obscure stories that, I reckon ordinary people, this would have just passed them by.
He would definitely have passed him by. But before we go into anything else, first of all, how was Jen's weekend?
Oh, Jen had a whale of a time. Did I actually text you to tell you what we were doing?
No.
Oh, well. We went to a hotel and spa in Knutsford, which is called Cotton's. It's a lovely place. They're often on secret escapes. Sadly, that wasn't how I paid for it, because it probably would have been a teeny tiny bit cheaper. But when you want an actual date, you've just got to pay what the price is. But we did get a breakfast, dinner, and access to the spa thing. So it was quite nice, Alan. Really lovely breakfast. It was a non-buffet breakfast.
Oh, you don't see them often now. So you got an actual plate, what with your sausage on and your bacon and things like that, or was it a continental one?
You got a menu that you could order from, and you had all kinds of things, including, of course, the traditional breakfast, which I did have, and you also got your continental as well. So you could order cereal or you could order toast and all that. And Danny List, shield your ears at this point, but the plate was a rectangle and my beans came in a little pot.
I know Danny doesn't like the little pots of beans, does he?
It wasn't, but it was so convenient. I could just dip my toast in. It was great. I loved it. I'm sorry, Danny. And then after that, on Jen's actual birthday on Sunday, right next door to this hotel, which was probably the reason we went. Well, it was the reason we went. I booked it, so I know the reason we went. There was a bird sanctuary called Gauntlet Falconry, or words to that effect. Look it up, listener. It is great. It's £12.50 to get in. And you think for that price, oh, it's just going to be a few birds and you'll spend about an hour, hour and a half there. Alan, we spent the whole day there. They had multiple talks, and at the end, there was this massive bird show where there must have been 40, 50 birds just flying around.
Oh, wow. Wow. Like birds of prey and like eagles and condors. How was the biggest one?
Well, the biggest one, I think they had a sea eagle, the UK's biggest bird, which is the sea eagle, white tipped, I think it is, the brown
Wow.
one with the white tip. They also, for our American listeners, they had a bald eagle, which it was funny because it must have known people were taking pictures and it kept doing the classic pose of turning its head to one side.
Oh. Love it, love it. Oh, amazing. I love watching Birds of Prey. I went to Muncaster Castle to do a race the tide, it was a few years ago. And when you get entry into Muncaster Castle and they have Birds of Prey and falconry and that, well worth it if anyone's going up there to the Lake District to do race the tide.
Absolutely. And anyone who happens to be around Knutsford, look this place up, particularly if you're staying over. So I'm thinking soon you've got Deadly Dozen, which is in Macclesfield, which is only just down the road. Or next year, I want to say Born Survivors, not a million miles away from this place. Definitely look it up. It is worth your time to go there, and it helps the birds all over the world. are currently going out to try and support the vultures over in Africa because would you believe, Alan, we are very close to losing most of the vulture population.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
I'll explain why, but spoiler alerts if you're planning to go to this bird sanctuary anytime soon. But you know what vultures do? They circle a carcass.
Yeah, they're carrion birds? I think they call them something like that.
They are carrion birds. And part of the reason they circle the carcass is to kind of act as a signal to lots of other carnivores in the area to go there and to have their feed. And then when there's not much left of the animal, I'm sorry if you're eating your tea whilst you're listening to this, the vultures will then go and finish off.
Okay, yeah. Pick
So
the bones clean. What? Because is that where they get the phrase "pick the bones clean"?
exactly. And yeah, they are basically nature's garbage men.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately, the price of ivory has shot up recently,
Yeah.
and that brings poachers.
Okay.
And you're probably thinking, what has these two things got in common? Well, the way they were finding poachers was, of course, once they'd shot a animal dead,
Yeah.
the vultures would see and start circling.
Okay. I get that. Yeah.
So those vultures were acting as almost a whistleblower for all of the anti-poaching staff. They could just follow the vulture trail and find the poachers.
Okay.
So the poachers got wise to this, and once they've taken the ivory now, they are basically poisoning the body of the animal, which is killing the local vulture populations.
Oh no, that's awful.
It's terrible, isn't it?
That is. Oh, they've never done nothing. Oh, I've got actual tears in my eyes here, Ian. That's like so evil.
And the problem is that it'll be killing thousands of birds at a time, and not just the ones that are going there. They'll obviously be taking back scraps to their young, so it'll be killing generations.
And I suppose if any other animal comes along to eat that carcass, does it kill them? Or is the poison not that strong? Or does it kill them?
I believe it'll kill them as well. So these poachers are horrible things. You know what? Humans are horrible, horrible species, aren't we?
We are, not all humans, but there are some evil people out there, and we read about them every day in the news. And hence, we did Be Kind, the other week. And I would say, keep up that. If you joined in Be Kind of the week, keep that up, because for every time you're kind, there is someone out there that's not. So, yeah.
Exactly. Be kind to everyone but poachers. You can punch a poacher.
Oh, that should be hashtag punch a poacher. We don't condone violence, but punch a poacher.
Unless it's an egg. You can poach as many eggs as you like.
But not vulture's eggs.
Not vulture's eggs, but which is ironically what I had for breakfast. Anyway, Alan, before we get on to what you got up to the weekend, what are you drinking?
Oh, well, actually, and this is for one of our cider lovers. I'm actually on an old moot cider, the berries and cherries. You know, when it's really hot, I find something a bit more refreshing. So I've actually gone with a berries and cherries, old moot cider, but I've made a difference. It's a shandy, Ian. So it's a cider shandy.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. So it's a cider shandy.
Yeah, I like it. It's really refreshing. A lot more lemonade in than the alcohol content. But then you get the flavour from the berries, and it's not just like putting. It looks like cordial, if I'm honest, but it tastes much nicer.
That reminds me, over the weekend, this hotel, it was a Daniel Thwaites hotel.
You'd blow me. I don't know what Daniel Thwaites is. Oh, that's a brewery. You mean the brewery, the Thwaites Brewery?
Thwaites
Oh,
Brewery, yes.
Oh.
So I had a few beers and I didn't feel hungover the next day, because they were supplying it and it was obviously the best of the best.
Yes.
And yeah, I had their IPA and yeah, clear head the next day. It was gorgeous. So again, check out Daniel Thwaites if you haven't in the past, listener. And Jen had an organic wine called, I want to say Duck's Feet, which is interesting.
Duck's Feet.
Oh, not Duck's Feet. That was the bottle. Running Duck.
Oh, Running Duck. Oh, so they're trying to take use of me then, or taking my name? Or not close enough?
I believe Running Duck is your Native American cousin.
All right. Okay. My Native American cousin.
who you'll probably meet in Albuquerque.
We'll meet in Albuquerque if I go over there. But before we talk about a bit of Tough Mudder stuff, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm very similar, Alan. I am having a lemon shandy with 0.0% alcohol in by a small upstart company called the Coca-Cola Corporation. Okay, it's a Fanta lemon.
It's a Fanta lemon. Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that shandy, a lemonade shandy. That's a good one. I had a beer on the weekend. I went to Apple Tree Wick. Have you ever heard of that? Near Burnsall up that way?
Never been. I've heard about it. I've seen it on the map, but I've never been.
We went to this restaurant. I can't remember what they called it, the Barn and the Duck or something like that. So anyway, forget about what it was called. But it was in the place of nowhere. How they've got a pub there, I don't know, because it was in the middle of nowhere. But it was really good. Got lots of good food ratings. Food were nice. But I had a beer called a Wensleydale. It was an IPA, and it was just like drinking shandy. It was like that fruity and that zesty and refreshing. But that was a good pint. But I had to wait an hour and 10 minutes for my food here. How bad was that?
Oh God, that's terrible. And plus, that beer sounds a bit cheesy.
Because of the Wensleydale.
Why did you have to wait so long for your food?
I don't know. I actually made a little bit of a complaint about it. I asked him. I said, "Have you forgot about us after 50 minutes?" And he went, "No, no." He says, "It'll not be 2 minutes. I'll go and check for you." And they come back and said, "It'll be 20 minutes." Yeah, they'd forgot about us, Ian.
Yeah, they had, and not to rub it in too much, Alan. We actually had a three-course meal at the weekend at the hotel, and I think the whole thing from start to an hour, maybe an hour 10.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. We enjoyed it because we were talking all the time, but yeah, it wasn't great having to wait that long. So, shall we jump straight in with a bit of ETM?
Yeah, because I'm actually puzzled about how it all went because I wasn't paying a lot of attention. I think on the morning after, I checked the results and saw that you were doing well. Will had sadly dropped out, and Dassos was doing very well. And that's probably about as far as I went into the whole thing. So, Alan, spill the tea. What was it like?
Well, first of all, registration was fast. Registration was super fast. Bit of a downside is they didn't tell us where to go when we'd gone through registration. Luckily, I knew where I was going because I'd asked someone else. And the pit area was like behind the tent where they keep the bags, which was at the side of the finish line, but it was actually at the opposite end of the village. And you had to run through this tent if you're going to run to the start line. So it was really, really strange. That was the first thing we saw because, as you know, Ian, going to ETM, or every ETM I've done, you've always run all the way through the village. When you finish your lap, you go all the way through the village, you jump into your tent, you continue on the same vein. This was a bit different because you crossed the finish line and you had an option: turn left to go to the pits and turn right to continue another lap. So if you went left into the pits, you then went and pit and then had to come back out to where you just turned off and continue your lap. So it was a bit strange, a bit different for the pits. And a lot of people were talking about this and saying it was like another race that's happening in the States. So it was like, yeah, people get that, and we'll come to that in a minute. So that was the first thing that I noticed. The course itself, Ian, I've got to admit, as a layout for a course, the actual running section was perfect. You got like a mile or just under a mile before you started climbing. You climbed for a mile, you descended for a mile, few little bits and bobs in, and then you had 2 miles of flat virtually, with some absolutely amazing running route. However, a couple of big problems. Obstacle placement, Ian, was absolutely shocking. And I'll give you a couple of examples. So, Twinkle Toes. We all know Twinkle Toes, you've got to go up that little rampy thing to get onto it. They put it after a water obstacle. So it was wet. Straight away, it was wet, it was slippy, you couldn't get up Twinkle Toes. I saw more people doing I I mean, I'm the worst balancer anyway, so I only managed it once out of 5 times, I think. So I only managed it once out of 5 times. So I had to do the dizzy bat. And Grumpy was evil. He made you spin around 25 times. But if you took your head off the stick, you had to start all over again. So evil Mr. Grumpy. Although it was fair and I liked it. But the big one for me that I wasn't happy with, and it's actually in my review because I've started writing my review, so people will realize this in my review, that we went through Kiss of Mud, and Kiss of Mud was a normal barbed wire crawl, but then they dug 2 ditches in it. So going horizontal to where you're crawling. So as you're going vertical, horizontal. So you climb into these ditches as you're in there. They're about a foot deep, full of water, completely full of water. So of course this is overflowing. Kiss of Mud was really a proper Kiss of Mud. You know, you came out of there completely covered head to toe in mud. The next obstacle, pyramid scheme.
Oh, right. And what type of pyramid scheme was it? Did you have a rope?
You had a rope. However, you're completely caked in mud, Ian. So, you know, you're going to go up on a rope. You go as high as you can, you know, and try and reach over and grab the bar at the end. It was slippy. Your feet are wet through. You know, I get it's meant to be tough, but for me, that obstacle placement was absolutely shocking. You know, it was like it shouldn't have been there. It should have been before Kiss the Mud. You were asking for problems.
I'm going to ask a question. In terms of the barbed wire,
Yeah,
how high was it strung? Like, would you be able to roll?
I couldn't roll. No, so rolling is normally my first choice. I couldn't roll. I was like literally I couldn't even go on my side at all. The barbed wire was, I would say, 18 inches maximum.
Yeah, that makes it difficult because obviously, if you roll, you can easily just have your hands placed on your chest and they don't get muddy. The
Yeah,
back of your hands get muddy and you'd probably be fine. I guess if you're experienced enough, you'll know to just keep your hands in a fist and then you're going through on your elbows. But that doesn't help if everyone else is caking that rope in mud. You
no,
being clean doesn't help if there's, I don't know, 250 other people who don't know how to do it to keep their hands clean.
no. And I mean, I only did it twice. So I only went up pyramid scheme twice. They closed it down. They closed it down earlier, and I think that's because it was getting too dangerous. So I took my hands off Tough Mudder. They made the decision as everything to take it down. They kept Everest open instead, which Everest was so hard to do as well because they put Everest straight after Block Ness Monster.
Right. So your shoes are basically drenched
Yeah,
and you're then trying to run up. Yeah, it's odd because I don't know what show we're currently on. I know we're in Three Figures and we've done a lot of these shows. Isn't this something we talk about all the time about how lazy it is for an RD to make something difficult by putting a water obstacle directly before an obstacle where you need either to balance or to run or to use your hands?
exactly. This is my whole point, Ian. And it wasn't. It just felt it was wrong. It was cheap. It was pointless. If they just had a little bit of thought about it, you know, they could have changed it. And I mean, the other thing as well was when you came out of Kiss of Mud, you had Pyramid Scheme, and then you had Arctic Enema. However, Arctic Enema wasn't open for a long till the early hours of the morning. So you had then Mudderhorn. So Mudderhorn, you've got that wood to jump up. Again, you're still covered in mud. There's no way you're getting rid of that mud. So you're jumping onto Mudderhorn and you're caking mud. Everyone was looking for the dry spot at Mudderhorn, you know, and people that so here's a couple of examples. At Everest, I've been told that the only 2 people that go up Everest on a regular basis were Russell Walsh and Grant Thompson. Everyone else was either using bands or were having to do the penalty, which was burpees. When you got to Mudderhorn, some of the top athletes, men and women, were waiting to be given a hand up. You know, they couldn't get to the top and hold that ledge because everyone's hands were that muddy and the ledge got that muddy. It was wrong, Ian. Other than that, ETM for me loved it. Yeah, I thought they got a lot of the obstacles in good spots. You know, you got to the top of the hill, you went into cage crawl, absolutely fantastic up there. but they just need to change a little bit through. Was it Funky Monkey was good. Hold Your Wood was brilliant. Absolutely major logs on that. The logs on the Hold Your Wood were really big, and it was a good, I want to say about 80, 90 meters loop. That was a good loop. The best thing for me, Ian, and I probably say this every time I go to ETM, was the volunteers. There were some top volunteers out there. Big shout out to them all. I'm not going to name you all because I'll end up missing someone and you're going to shout at me. But you all know who you are. Went round my last lap. I went round, shook everyone's hand, volunteered, said thank you to everyone. I know it was going to be my last lap, so I went round and did that. But well deserved them.
So, in terms of the obstacles, what modifications were there over and above a regular Tough Mudder?
That's a good one. None. None
at all.
Well, let me think about it. Okay, so yes, it's a lie. So Mud Mile, they put a cargo net on. So I'm having to think about these. Mud Mile, they put a cargo net on, but then they took it off because it became a little bit dangerous because you're just going down the hill, as you're going down into the dips, your people's feet were getting caught on it, and then it was like flipping around. So as they was going sliding down because it was really slippy, the feet were getting caught and it was flipping them around. So they ended up taking that cargo net off. Devil's Beard was loose. You literally could bear crawl under it, no problems. Kiss of Mud, I mentioned that was the modification where they put the holes into it. I can't think of any other modifications out on course that were different.
So, in terms of some of the things we were discussing, they called Hanging Tougher. Was that different?
So Hang Tough was you went on 3 rings before you went on to a ladder that tilts. Oh, Funky Monkey had a bar on that was super hard. So you went up about 4 or 5 rungs of a ladder, and then you had just a bar that went up. I was off it. I couldn't. You just slid back down it. That was super hard to get up. While I was there, I got to admit I didn't see anyone do Funky Monkey while I was there. I took the penalty. So I took a penalty on the first lap because I fell off, and then the second lap, as people were reading my review, I hurt my shoulder. So on the second lap, I couldn't. There was no chance I was going to get up there. So I jumped on, got 1 bar, lifted my right arm up, ended up in the water, did the penalty the second time. But both times I was there, I didn't see anyone complete Funky Monkey.
Okay, so that sounds harder. What about Electric Eel, which was named Shocks on the Rocks?
That just looked like Electric Eel to me. I didn't see any difference in that. I didn't do it. I took the penalty straight away. There was no way. After I got electrocuted not long since in the house, there's no way am I going to risk getting electrocuted at any moment in time. My teeth are still tingling from my electrocution in the house, so I was straight into taking the penalties on both electrical obstacles.
Okay, what were the penalties for the electrical obstacles?
So on Shocks on the Rocks, that was a nut on a bar, and you had to roll it right down to the bottom and then spin it right back to the top. Took about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, depending on how quick you were. I think it took me about 2 minutes. And on electroshock therapy, this is where we got a little bit, if you were clever, you got a little bit of an idea of what news was going to be broke the following day, which was there was all these balls, little balls you get in ball pits, all in some water, and they had letters on. So there was 3 balls in there with letters on, M, T, and W. So yeah, if you found one of those, then you had to go and find one and through the water. So there was only 3 in there, and there was about 200 balls. So the first time I went in there, it took me a good 3-4 minutes to find it. The second time, I just looked and I saw one with W just floating straight in front of me. So I was in and out within seconds. But yeah, MTW. But if you go the other way around, it's WTM.
Which we probably should discuss in a second. But before we do, I can't remember. Are the Pesky Who's Hot crew actually covering Toughest Mudder, or can we give the results?
We can give the results, Ian. I actually have them in front of me. Would you like to know them?
I would indeed, Alan. Yeah, let's go through those results and then let's talk about your result, okay?
Okay. Let's go with the overall results. In the women, Nikki Karumba won it on 9 laps. Second was Louise Ferryman on 8 laps in 10 hours 32. Louise was going out for 11th lap and she got 3/4 of the way around before she ran out of time. And in fact, probably more than 3/4 of the way around. And they had to pull her off. So big shout out to Lou there. And then third was Jackie Barr. I've got to spell that right. And Baugh. I've spelled that right. And that was lap 8. She did, so she got 40 miles as well. In the men's results, Dassos flew round, winning it in 11 laps, 10 hours 22. Second, Grant Thompson, 11 laps, 11 hours 18. And third, Russell Walsh, 10 laps in 10 hours 39. They were all watching they knew they've got 1, 2, 3 with a couple of hours to go. It was a great race for them.
It was. And I am going to go back to the female finishers because third place, Jackie, is an interesting case because she probably wouldn't describe herself as an elite runner. She's one of the mudcrawl lot. She does a lot of OCR. You'll often see her running with Andy West, and she's an amazing athlete. That wasn't meant as any kind of a slight, but she has just been on a tear when it comes to these kind of events. She does a lot of 10Ks as well. I think I met her for the first time at the Alton Towers 10K ages ago. So well done to Jackie for the third place overall and to all the podium placers, including the age group podium placers. And was there anyone who we are familiar with who got an age group finish?
Sam Gosgine did. She was in second place. Big shout out to Sam there. Last minute. But I guess you're meaning me, and I guess you're talking about me with that.
I am indeed talking about you with your second best finish after the Wolf Run victory.
So we're saying the Wolf Run was better than ETF. Well, actually, yeah, because it was first overall, wasn't it? Yeah. So
first overall, and you beat a lot better competition, of course. No, I can't even say that with a straight face.
I got it right. I want to say it all went well. It didn't all go well. I wanted to quit at one point. I don't want to give my review away too much that I've put in words that's going to come out later. This might even be out when this is out, and I don't know yet. But let's just turn around and say I was about to quit until I found out that I was winning, and that spurred me on to go on and do it. I knew I'd won by the time I'd finished the 6th lap. So when I went out for my 7th, it was a thank you lap to all the marshals. And I said earlier I went out there as a thank you lap. We spoke offline earlier. I wanted to go and do my best and I wanted to podium. Did I expect to podium first in my age group? I'm going to say no, I didn't. I was just hoping for a second or a third. But on the day I ran well here, and I just ran really, really well. Got a couple of little injuries out there. And I'm still struggling with my shoulder at this moment in time. But it was, I don't know, things just went right for me. Big thank you out to a few people out there. Will Chung for getting me something to eat because I was on cheer bars and realised by lap 4 I needed more. So a big shout to him. I think he got it from Lou, but I don't know which Lou he got it from. He did say Lou, whether it was Lou Ferryman or someone else. But big thank you out to that. The marshals, people who helped me over the aero walls and up Mudderhorn after I'd done my shouldering and I couldn't get up them last 2 laps. Big thank you to you guys for helping me. Big thanks to, I'm going to name one particular guy because he's every lap, Mike Weir on Stairway to Heaven. He made me chuckle every lap, stood there on his own, cheering every runner. And they're all great, all the marshals. But me and him, I don't know, we chatted virtually every lap for a few. As I was going over, I was non-stop talking to him. I was going over and down the other side. And big thank you to him. And I've got some pictures from him that I'm going to be using on our review as well. So, and it went well. The training's gone well.
I'd just like to confirm, listener, that this wasn't a case of Alan turning up and there being no one in his age group. It looks like second place was pushing you hard for a while, but you eventually lapped him and probably broke his spirit.
Yeah, I don't know if he knew that I lapped him. I was surprised with how many people were actually taking a break through the night, if I'm honest. Because I know when I got to 6 laps, he'd only done 4. So I know at that point he won 4 and I was on 6. And that's how I knew I'd won because there was no way in 3 hours were he going to get two laps. You know, it was taking 140, 150 a lap for most people, and he'd only done 4 in that time. So I thought there's no way he's going to go out and get. He did actually come in with 6 laps, I think, which shocked me. But I got my 6 well before then. So yeah, it was good. It was good running. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, a couple of little things for me, but I've got to focus a little bit more on my nutrition. I learned a little bit about nutrition. I thought because I've been testing it, I thought I'd just be able to manage on chia bars and uh, electrolytes. I think I'd not got the right mindset going into either because I'd had 2 bad days. I'd got the caravan up there, and the caravan was faulty with the electrics, which I've now fixed. Because it wasn't the caravan, it was actually the mains electricity on site. And then I had to get a water pump the following day. So we had a 3-hour drive to go and get a water pump from somewhere. And because the electrics had blown my water pump, and yeah, so I didn't have the greatest day leading up to it, but things just ran well at the night time. And a big thank you to everyone out there as well who cheered me on.
No, and well done, Al. I know Josh, and we have fun with your podiums and all that on this show. That's part of the show, and most of it's out of jealousy because I'm only going to podium when I'm 95, and that'll be because no one else is in the race. But no, well done, Alan. And I have to ask the question: are you going to try and double it up next year, given the news that came out during the podium ceremony?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm going out next year. I've set myself a goal. I'm going to try and get 16 laps in. If I get 16 laps in, that will, in my age group, that will podium me for the last 3 years. I've looked at the results for the last 3 years. So 16 laps, which is a big. I could have got 8 laps in this time in the 12 hours, but that was with injuries. So if I can try and stay injury free, I've got a good chance of getting 15 or 16 laps in, which would definitely podium me. But who knows? A lot can happen in 24 hours, can't it? So
Exactly. And just to confirm, in case you have been living under a rock, or in my case, at a lovely spa in Knutsford, just ignoring the whole wide world, World's Toughest Mudder is coming to the UK in June at the Midlands venue. So at this moment in time, it is unclear whether they'll be doing a regular Tough Mudder on the same day, and then World's Toughest will start later on. We currently don't know that. 'Cause I think they have done in America where they've done a few waves in the morning and then they clear the site and turn it into WTM. But it is coming to the UK. I don't think anyone ever expected this, Alan. And what was it like on site when this news was announced?
it was mentally, and a few people in the know had already figured it. I'm going to turn around and say, but no one, we weren't 100% certain. I mean, we're talking about world's toughest mudder. It's never left America. It's never left the USA. It's always been there. They've never ever said they're going to take it on the road. It's always been, this is a USA thing. UK, you've got Europe's. This is world's is as a USA thing. And they don't normally not announce the venue, if I remember rightly, until the event, till WTM's actually finished, wherever it is, and then they announce it at the end of there, don't they, for the following year?
Yeah, they announced it at brunch. I can understand why they did it this year because they usually give you a full year's notice of where it's going to be. This time, they're still giving you a year's notice, but if they'd waited till brunch, it would have been about 6 months, and there would have probably been so much vitriol on Facebook about not having enough time to train that you could power electroshock therapy with it.
Yeah. And he just went, the moment it announced that they had a big banner, they've been saying that they were going to announce something, they were going to announce something. Everyone was just hoping it was what we was thinking. And then they dropped the banner behind the screen and just said, World's Toughest Mudder coming to Midlands, UK 2025. It's amazing news.
It is, and there are some downsides to it that we can't ignore, and we'll go into that in a second. But Alan, you've been to Midlands venue a fair bit. I know I have. It's got a special place in my heart, which I'll go into maybe on this show, maybe some other time. But what do you think of it as a venue for hosting World's Toughest Mudder? Because I've heard various things.
I think it's probably one of the only places that's going to be big enough to hold it. I think that's the top and bottom of it, Ian, is that we're going to be talking of several thousand athletes. That's several thousand tents, you know.
I'd say probably about 1,000.
Okay, so 1,000. So we've got 1,000 athletes. That's 1,000 tents, Ian. You know, how many places that they go to? Yorkshire couldn't hold 1,000 tents. You know, I can't see anywhere in Yorkshire holding 1,000 tents. Could Northwest? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure it could, if I'm honest.
The problem with Yorkshire is you've got the stone brickwork in various places, which makes it inconvenient. The problem with Tough Mudder Northwest is you have that trench that you have, which you've got to cross to get
Yeah.
to the venue, if you remember. So again, could it hold it? Possibly, but I don't think the ground's the best. You are right. I do wonder where they're going to put Tent City. My suspicion, Alan, is they'll probably put Tent City towards the place where we sometimes have obstacles. So walking up the up past Mud Mile, and then you've got that massive field, haven't you?
And that would be my thoughts too. The only downside to that would be great if they only put WTM on, yeah, because you can maybe car parking in the field where the event village is now. I don't know. They could put it there. You've only got a short walk. Otherwise, how would they get cars? Because you can't ask people to walk from current car park all the way to that area. You're talking like a good half a mile.
Have done it in the past. They
Have they?
did Europe's Toughest Mudder there. I want to say the first time they ever went to 12 hours, that is where Tent City was. I know the year that you came, they moved Tent City back towards near the village,
Yeah.
but the first time they did it for 12 hours, and we actually had Tent City, that's where we placed everyone. Now, whether they decided, well, actually, it's unfair to get people to walk that distance, I'm not sure. I know at the end of that Tough Mudder, they allowed everyone to go and get their cars to drive down the road and pick up their stuff. So I guess we'll see. There probably is enough room where Tent City was that time we attended and you went and slept in the car.
Definitely. I think if they jiggery pokey that field out, so if they move, they just keep Mudderhorn and electroshock therapy in that field only, because they normally have something else in there with Tipping Point, I think, earlier this year, and they move the event village towards the hill slightly, then you would have a massive area for tent village that go all the way down that hedge. And usually, as you're looking at the event village to the right hand side, I think that's what will happen to it, if I'm honest. I think you'll get an elite tent village. You know, the contender series will be down the side, but then you'll have to come off and go to your tent if you're not one of the contenders, elite contenders.
And that again would make a lot of sense, but we're just speculating. We won't know for sure when it happens. My big thing about Midlands, and let's see if you agree with this, is not in a bad way, but it's perhaps the most generic course that Tough Mudder have in the UK, in that they don't have a specialty there. So, for example, Northwest is the muddy one. Yorkshire, you've got the hill. London West, you've got the multiple hills. London South, it's fast and furious and very flat. Scotland is Scotland. It's amazing. It's got the hill with the tree line in, and it's got the midges, which in and of themselves are an obstacle. And then Southwest, you've got, well, it's so boring, you have to keep yourself awake going through it. Whereas Midlands kind of has everything in that it has that mud mile, which usually collapses in on itself, but it has that horrible clay mud. It has the lake, which, providing it's not going to give you E. coli, they can use and they can achieve quite well with it. You've got that dog leg, which is a pain in the neck, as we know, and it gets really chilly up there. And you've got the clamber of some of it where your left leg is shorter than your right leg. So it's got lots of things, but it doesn't have one defining feature. It's almost like a blank canvas.
Yeah, and I have to agree. It's a course that's got a lot of potential, and it's going to test everything. You know, I think it's going to be fast. I think it's going to be fast for the first half section, and then you're going to the hill. You know, you think when I've been to the Midlands, they tend to use maybe the hill twice, but I think they've got an option there to move it a third time. So as you're coming out of the lake to send you up that hill, which they don't often do, as well as then the other two hills, the one where they usually put um, the really steep one that they put Devil's Beard on, and then there's usually a TM sign at the top that you run around, and then there's a hill that goes right up to the very top with a little dog leg in the corner. I think it's great. I think it's got a lot of potential. I think it's going to be a good event, Ian. I really think. I think they're going to some. I think there's going to be definitely some 100-milers going in there.
I think it'll be a great event. Interesting that it's in June, which for all our American audiences basically means we won't get snow. And that's about as much as I can guarantee you.
Yeah. No snow, potential rain, potential wind, potential sunshine.
Pretty much. And if it's windy, make sure you have a windbreaker with you because that dog leg will just chill you to the bone.
Definitely. So do we need now to start a business up? Because I don't know any business in the UK that hires tents out here or will let you hire one out. So in America, I know that when people go to WTM, they hire tents. Should we start a business up now where we can hire tents out?
Yeah, or should we just buy a massive marquee and we could do it that way? But it's not a bad idea of hiring tents. I'm sure someone's already on it, but it's not a terrible idea at all. It is going to be great from a point of view of it being in the UK, meaning most people could use their regular tent because you don't have this. Even in World's Toughest Mudder, the locals still usually have to go to Walmart to get a tent because they're not really locals. It just happens to be in the same country. Whereas we're probably going to have 500 people here who are drivable.
Yeah, yeah. I get so much. Everything's going to be drivable. We know that in the UK. Do you think we're going to get some more Europeans come over? Some that we haven't seen, from this. Because I'm looking at posts now. So I'm looking at posts now, and I'm seeing a lot of people, a lot of top athletes saying they want to go to it. However, there is one little caveat in here that's saying they're not going to go. So will Dan List will Dan not Dan List will Dan Titcombe go? Highly unlikely, and we'll give the reason in a second. So a lot of the top athletes in the UK are not going to be going. What about Europe though? Because this is their chance to do it.
I think a lot of the European Tough Mudder athletes are already booking flights.
Right.
And back when me and the intern were at every single Tough Mudder and we camped, there was a group of Germans who were there every weekend and they have already confirmed. Well, Nadine, who used to win Tougher Mudders all the time, do you remember when you got prize money for Tougher Mudders? It was between her and Lucy from Team Short Shorts. They usually would, one would get first, one would get second. She's already confirmed she's going to come and do it. So I suspect anyone within Europe who likes Tough Mudder will be there. That's what I would say. So the big question to me is how many Americans will come over because, and Will, close your ears for this, Grantham isn't exactly London, nor is it Manchester. It is the equivalent of when we went to Pensacola. I love the Midlands venue, but people have been chatting about where should we do brunch, where are we going to do the pub crawl. Please don't do it in Grantham. It's a lovely city. And Richard, if you're listening to this, I love it. When I go to Midlands, we will stay over in Grantham because there is a lovely little tap room there. I know how I love my beer, Alan, particularly the small local stuff. There is some great things there. There's not enough to keep 1,000 people entertained.
No, I guess I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. If it's in Yorkshire, you've got Skipton, beautiful town where everyone can go to. If it's over at Northwest, you've got Manchester, which is not too far away. Yeah, I get what you're saying. What Nottingham? They're going to go to Nottingham, aren't they?
Yeah, I think Nottingham is the closest place, and that probably would be most likely. If you are going to Grantham, our American audience, just go around, tell them how much you love Margaret Thatcher. They'll love you forever.
Definitely. The good news is, though, with that is wherever they are in America and they're flying to the UK, they're going to land at one of two airports. It's going to be, three airports. Because you've got Heathrow, Gatwick, or Manchester.
Actually, there's probably several we could end up at because you've also got East Midlands as well. I'm not sure what the international flights are like, but you are right, Alan. There are probably a fair few airports which are only 2 hours distance away,
Yes.
which is nothing to an American.
No, no. I'd say try not to fly into Gatwick because you're South London and then you've got to come all the way around the M25 unless you want to go and visit London for a little bit and spend some time around there. But yeah, try and get one to Heathrow or definitely to Manchester. If you get one to Manchester, you are only 2.5 hours drive away maximum.
Stansted might be the best, but again, I'm not sure what the international flights are like because that's right on the M1. So
Mm.
you just head straight up. So that might be your best option. But honestly, you'll be fine. And
Yeah.
I made this joke somewhere, Alan, that when we were over in Pensacola, pre-packaged sandwiches were ridiculous in cost because, well, Sophia did tell us to go to Rubik's. We didn't. We went to Walmart because, of course, we're British. We knew better. Yeah, and it was like £7 for a sandwich. Their minds are going to be blown away by a Tesco club card deal.
You think they're already in the pub now looking at the Tesco club card deals?
Absolutely, a Tesco meal deal. You could get two for the price of that really disappointing sandwich I got from Walmart.
I like that. I like that. So the bad news about WTM, it clashes in.
It does clash. Unfortunately, there's already an event happening. I want to say the week of or the week before.
Well, I think is the week before Morzine, Spartan Morzine.
Yes, the week before Spartan Morzine, and is it the week of? There's a massive clash.
There's a massive clash the week of, which is the Euros, and like Team GB. They're going to be Team United Kingdom's going to be there, aren't they? Your Dan Titkins, your Morgan Maxwell's, all these top runners that we've got running. I'm sorry if I haven't named you there, by the way, people, but all the top runners, Russell Dassos, they're going to be going to the Euros. They're going to be challenging at the Euros. I would be really surprised if our top athletes in the UK gave up a Euros ticket to WTM. And I know for a lot of us, for me, this is potentially a once in a lifetime shot. Yeah, I'm doing it. And I get some people will, but I just don't think we're going to get the best athletes there, which is not good.
Except if you're trying to get an age group podium like you are, Alan. Perfect.
Hey, wonderful, wonderful. What do you think WTM would have to do to attract them? Big prize money?
Prize money, I think would attract them. And I'm not sure. I think it depends on the athlete. So, for example, Dassos is an interesting potential because he proved that he can do this endurance. If, however, you're an athlete, I'm not going to name any because I'll probably offend someone, but if you're an athlete and your bag is the European style of obstacle racing, you'll go to the Euros.
Yeah.
If you're an endurance athlete, you may be really tempted to just give this WTM a crack.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I'm just worried. I think they've got to offer some type of prize money, but then if they offer huge prize money, so let's just say if they offered £10,000 and you were in with a chance of winning, you would probably go to WTM. If they offered £50,000, yeah, you're definitely going to go to WTM. However, at £50,000, we're going to get the likes of John coming back.
At £50,000, I will ride the flying pig to Grantham.
But they've had £100,000 there. They've offered £100,000 before, haven't they? When we're talking they have in the past.
They have. They were also on TV at the time and had sponsorship. I'd be very surprised. But saying that, even at 10K or maybe 5K, it could be tempting enough to someone like John to come over and do it. Although maybe not John. John's always confessed he doesn't really like 24-hour events. They're just not his bag, have they? But it may be tempting enough if Ryan Atkins wanted to do a UK tour, he might go and do it. You never know. I guess it depends. What I wouldn't worry about is I wouldn't worry about attendance in terms of numbers because I think the Tough Mudder Honks are going to fill this place. Speaking of which, Alan, should we explain to the audience how you can currently get a ticket to WTM? Because there has been a load of various ways at the moment.
Yes, so basically you can go straight online and purchase one. I think the links are out there and everything else. I think it's about 350, £360 at this moment in time just for your WTM ticket and about £60 for a brunch ticket, if I remember rightly what I've seen. Or you can actually get a really good deal. So the season plus pass, which currently costs £799, includes double, so you get all the Infinity series, you get everything in there. Shall I give a list of what you get in? I've actually got it on my phone.
Yeah, list what you actually get, Alan.
So if you go for a season plus pass, you get all your tickets for any TM in the UK at unlimited events. You get all the Infinity tickets. You get one World's Toughest ticket and one World's Toughest Mudder Brunch. You get a spectator ticket as well, and that's one for every event, for every weekend, sorry. You get 50% off Germany and France events. You get some exclusive apparel. You get 5 tickets for buddy passes, which is 5 entries for £69, and you get 5 of them. Some extra VIP support and 20% off. So basically, if you go for between the normal season pass, which is 379, and the season plus, you are getting unlimited Tough Mudders, including Infinity, and one World's Toughest ticket plus the brunch. So I think it's worth it. If you want to pay £799 and they've got options open at the moment, you can get what 4 Infinities and a WTM for £799.
And the only thing that stays my hand a little is the placement of WTM, in that it would be great this season pass plus if all the events would be for WTM, because there's a good chance that WTM becomes your A race, and then after that, you don't want to do any more Infinities. Heck, you might not even want to do any more Tough Mudders.
True, true. I do believe there is another way of getting it though, Ian. So I'll tell you, I'm going to get my ticket. So because I have got a huge Tough Mudder tattoo, I actually get a free season plus pass, and I've had this confirmed that if you have got already got the tattoo and you'll get your season plus pass, you are going to get entry to WTM still.
Which is a great deal, but we should explain that Tough Mudder are not accepting any more tattoos if you've not already got a tattoo. I think that deal has now been withdrawn, Alan.
I'm not 100% certain, but check with them first before anyone goes out and gets a tattoo done. I mean, it has to be quite big. I think it's 10-inch by 10-inch as a minimum. So yeah, go and check out first.
And there is another option. Graham Wells has sent us the Spartan season pass details, which I think, Alan, given the time, we'll go through in detail next week, if that's okay, because I don't think it's going anywhere. But if you got their Ultra season pass, which is basically pretty much everything, which I won't go through, but it does include a race ticket to Morzine, which you may or may not use because you get World's Toughest Mudder discount 50% off as well. So my maths is that the Ultra Season Pass is 479. My maths tells me that if you wanted to be a Spartan honk, then it's currently 679 to go all Spartan, get 50% off your World's Toughest ticket and buy it for about 200 quid.
True. Hey, that's even better deal.
If you are mainly a Spartan honk.
Yes.
But of course, check whether or not you fancy the various things. But it's just another option out there. Like I say, there are other passes there, and we will go into it probably next week. And I think the other thing we could probably cover off next week is something we mentioned or we've danced around, Alan, is how busy this now makes the calendar in June next year, which is causing the pub all kinds of problems. That's our Patreon pub on the Facebook, because no one knows what to do. So I think maybe we cover that off next week and we give the pub Denisons time to figure out their lives.
Exactly. I'm cool with that. I like that idea. Can we just cover a few more things, though, Ian? So I want to give a quick shout out to Mark Derbyshire, who won the Montaigne Lakeland 100 last week in a record time. Absolutely flying, that guy. Did a little interview afterwards, straight after the event. So anyone who's on Facebook, go check out the Montaigne Lakeland 100. Watch that little video. Great little insight into his racing there.
Absolutely. And shall I cover off a little bit of fitness racing news?
Give us some fitness racing news.
Right, first there was a Deca this past weekend, so I should probably go through the results. This was over in Spain. It was technically it was the Deca Cup, so it was the biggest Deca Europe event of the year. And of course, I've now lost all the results because that happened. But let's have a quick look at the results. Okay, in the results, the Deca Cup, it looks like Jezebel won the female category, followed by Munsa Chiara, I believe, was the second place female, and then the third place female was Tania Fies. In the men's, we have got Alphonse de Rus from Spain in first place. We then have Aitor Lizazu in second place, and then we have Pau Nachenta Morenes in third place. Unfortunately, in the Deca Cup, there wasn't any UK representation, Alan. We had Aileen McCann, who's obviously Irish, and I thought we had James Muscat there, but it looks like it was actually James Muscat Hay from Canada who was in attendance.
So we thought we had an English one, but no, it's the Canadian one. So we've got two James Muscats.
There must be because, yeah, I didn't realize. I knew that James had got married to a Canadian, but I didn't realize that he had a namesake in Canada. So I guess that's how we go. We did have Leah Smith out there who did all right. She got a great time, but they've credited her as being Spanish. So I don't know what's happening over there, to be fair. Should we also go through the teams as well? Because as well as the individuals, we had teams. So the mixed relay, the overall winner was Alphonse and Munsa in 28:34. We then had Noelia Perez and Ruben Patino Vietz in 29:10. Then we had Aileen McCann and Alejandro Sampojara in 29:45. Also, big shout out to friend of the show, David Kelly and Charlotte Malone, who finished 8th overall in the mixed relay. So well done to them.
Nice one. You just reminded me. Matt, well done on your team winning ETM. I forgot to give him a shout out, Ian. Oops.
Oh well, don't worry. He'll listen to the end, I'm sure. The other news this weekend, Alan, was kind of funny when you think about it, that this doesn't happen a lot, but Spartan beat Hyrox to the punch.
Go on.
Because, of course, Spartan announced WTM, took all the headlines, and then Hyrox announced details of their majors.
Ooh, this is for next year?
For next year. So there's going to be four majors in total. Amsterdam on the 10th of October, Hong Kong the 22nd of November, Las Vegas the 31st of January, and interesting to us, on the 13th of March, which is a Thursday, Glasgow.
Glasgow? Wow. That must be a shock for everyone in the fitness world?
Yes, I'm going to say it was a shock. There had been rumours circulating that Glasgow may get something big, and I'm not completely sure if people expect it to be a major, but it's fantastic news for those of us who love the sport in this country. Note that it is a Thursday, which suggests to me that Glasgow, when it's finally announced, will be a 3-day event. There's currently a bit of mirth going round because although this has been announced and although the data has been released to all the elite athletes, Glasgow as a actual venue hasn't been announced yet. So we don't know. Hyrox could turn up on the Thursday, set up for the elite race, and then leave.
I think that's unlikely, but yes, they could do it. That's very unlikely, but yes, they could do.
They could do. So, as always, until it gets confirmed, we don't know for sure. But if you want to do Glasgow Hyrox, I'd probably leave the middle of March free, maybe around the 14th, 15th, and 16th of March. Just call it a hunch, maybe. Just call it a hunch. What was also announced with this, Alan, was the qualification process for majors, which traditionally it's been the 15 fastest times.
Yes. Top 15.
Yep. And also, as well as the 15 fastest, they introduced this idea of having people who qualified for all of them. So what you had was last year, it was the top places in world champs. This year, it's probably going to be the winners of last year's majors and the world champion. They get 5 auto places, and that then leaves the 10 fastest times.
Yeah.
However, they've changed it.
No one's getting any. They've got to qualify individually. Tell me, go on.
No, you've still got your auto qualifiers,
Yeah.
but no, it is the average of your best 2 times on a rolling 12-month basis. So if you race a high rocks in, say, 55 minutes,
Yeah.
you know, your time that you're going to get in Manchester next year. So if you've done it in 55 minutes and you've also done it in 65 minutes, then your average time would be 60 minutes. And that would place you behind someone who perhaps has raced a high rocks in 58 and 59 because their 2 best times are 58:30.
Interesting that. And is it your best 2 fastest times as well, or your overall average?
Your best 2 fastest times in the preceding 12 months, or it keeps rolling. Of course, what's happened here is people with an ultra fast time have dropped down the rankings a little bit because their second place time isn't as fast. So it's dragged a few people outside of the 15th spot and 14th spot, etc. And the other major controversy, particularly for our American listeners, is there's not actually any North American races between now and Amsterdam, with the exception of Toronto, which is the week before.
That's tough, that. And let me get this bit right as well. If it's an average of your 2 fastest, and we are currently seeing the ballot, in theory, you might not be able to get 2 races in, like you've just mentioned there with Toronto, but I'm just thinking in general, you might not get 2 races in.
Yeah, it is a kick in the pants for anyone who's entering High Rocks now for the first time. We should confirm that there will be a last chance qualifier as well, which is in Barcelona. So if you've literally found High Rocks for the first time and you're actually of Olympian quality in that you can just go out there and smash out a super quick time, then there will be a last chance qualifier in Barcelona after Glasgow. So you do have that option. That's an open race. Anyone can go and do it. But you're right. Amsterdam and Hong Kong will probably be filled with a lot of people we've already seen. And then maybe Las Vegas and Glasgow, you've got a potential of people who've entered races. And to be fair, if you think you're on the cusp of an Elite 15 spot, you might not race in the UK anyway. The UK is terrible for getting a fast time. You'll probably head to another event somewhere.
I get that. Interesting, Ian. That's interesting, that. We'll have to see what happens on that. Just keep us informed.
I will do. The only thing I'm kind of surprised at, but I'm also not too surprised at, is it may have been quite good if they could have. Now that they've done the majors, so they're covering 3 of their major areas. Well, in actual fact, they're covering all 4 because they've got 1 in the USA.
Yeah.
They've got 1 in Hong Kong, which covers Asia Pacific.
Yeah.
You've then got 1 in Amsterdam and 1 in the United Kingdom. Well, Europe and the UK, although it is, High Rocks Europe, the UK market is so big that it possibly stands alone.
Yeah. What about Australia? So we're saying Australia's got to go to Hong Kong then as well?
Yeah, and I don't know how much flights are, but yeah, Asia Pacific region, Hong Kong would be their major location. And the point I was going to make is it would have been interesting if High Rocks had tried to maybe reserve a few spots at each one for people who race in that specific region.
Okay, yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Well, could it have been too complicated to sort out? But it would have been cool if he said, "Oh, at Hong Kong in particular, right, the fastest people in these Aussie races, they're going to get spots."
As we've said this before, I think High Rocks is growing so fast, and they're going to have to test something, and they don't know what. I'm not 100% sure they know what's going to work and what's not going to work. And it might be a little bit of testing because this has not been done before. This is new in this world. So, and they're that big and they're growing that fast. We might see it change. We've seen it change already. Is it the right way? I think only time's going to tell.
It's the best current option out there. I think we've used that description before. Again, what Hyrox have confirmed is they will not be changing things mid-season. So this is the way they're going. They're going to die on this hill. And if it doesn't work, they'll change it again in 25, 26, which I find admirable.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that's the way we've always said, as long as people that can change, they can look back and say, this works, that worked, this didn't work, that didn't work, and change it to make it more streamlined and better for everyone, then by all means test these things.
Absolutely. And Alan, have we got any more notes?
There's nothing from me.
I guess the only final thing I wanted to talk about was we know you're going to World's Toughest Mudder.
Yeah.
What about me?
Well, you've got to go. If you get a ticket in, you've got to go. Even if you're not racing, you've got to go as media.
Yeah, I will be there. I will find some way of going, unless the Euro champs want to fly me over to a lovely spa hotel, all expenses paid, in which case, bye-bye, Alan, I'm going covering the Euro champs. But given that's probably as likely as Tough Mudder putting up 50 grand's worth of prize money, I guess I'll see you all in Grantham. But this has given me pause for thought, and we're probably going to go into a little bit more personal than we usually do on this show, but it seems every week we go more personal. This year, I was going to head over with Will Chung and a few others. I was going to go and do the Florida World's Toughest Mudder. But I've always said that if I ever go again to a World's Toughest Mudder, it will probably be to do it. And a mixture of pennies, a mixture of work and other priorities meant there was probably no chance I was going to actually compete. So I pulled out of that. There's other reasons, in particular that pennies thing. As you know, Alan, this is an expensive sport.
Very much, yes.
So I was then thinking, do I go in 2025 to America and do it? And I honestly didn't know. And I was probably, again, going towards no, because I'm enjoying my current training. I'm enjoying doing the fitness events. I'm terrible at them, but I'm enjoying it. And I am really, really enjoying not having to hose down my stuff after an event. Yeah, those 2 hours hosing down your shorts, etc., are miserable. But there is a part of me that's thinking it's at the Midlands, and that's where my Tough Mudder journey started by doing a half when they first did the halves. And I'm not going to be silly enough to say that I do WTM and then I never do a Tough Mudder again, because honestly, I don't think you can ever say you're never going to do something again. But it would make a rather nice bookend, wouldn't it?
It'd make a bookend to going from 5K to WTM, because you got your shortest distance to the longest distance of any WTM. So yeah, it would. You're right. I don't think it'll ever be your last one. I think you'll rock up to someone at some other point. I think Ian. I think anyone who chooses not to do it, who's not going to the Euros or anything like that, is gambling that it's going to come again. I'm not sure it will come again. You never know. Never say never, but this is the first time it's left America. I want to do it because I don't want to miss it. That's my personal thing. I don't want to miss my chance of doing WTM. If I'd not got it as a in my season pass, I would potentially even signed up for it and paid for it, and individually.
Yeah, because it is a bucket list.
Yes.
But I would have to change a little bit about my training come January. I'd have to again figure out how to do monkey bars, although I didn't quite figure out how to do them in the first place. But by the by, it is what it is. But honestly, I don't know, Alan, and we probably won't know on this podcast, will we? Because it's something we need to think about. And should we open it up to the pub and let us know what should I do I'm not doing this as a poll, but I am interested in what you all think. Should I run World's Toughest Mudder? Should I do media? Should I pit crew? I really, really enjoy pit crewing for Will and the team last time. When we were pit crewing for Will and Michelle and that, I loved doing that, Alan. Unfortunately, not enough this time to go into debt to enable me to go to Florida, but I really enjoyed it that time. Or do I find a lovely spa hotel again and spend the 30th of June kicking back in a steam room?
Well, you know my thoughts. We'll let the pub decide. Well, whatever the pub decides, is that what you're going to do?
I don't know. I'm not putting this to a poll because that's dangerous. That is so dangerous. But I am genuinely torn. I know I've got a lot of time to think about it. And the reason I'm doing this and I want the pub to discuss it is because I know I'm not the only one out there who is currently conflicted.
Yeah.
So
I think
anyone,
someone in your shoes, Ian, who is not into ultra running. You're not into ultra running, and I'm being real honest to say that. If I was in your shoes, this would be my plan. So I would team up with someone. I would run my race on my first. I would probably get 1 or 2 laps in, maybe even 3 laps in, and then I would drop and pit crew for somebody. And then I would help them, continue their race, and then maybe go back out and maybe do another 1 or 2 laps later. I would be aiming for something like 5 laps over the period of time, but spread it out and help someone else at the same time.
that's not a bad idea, except for the fact I can be really miserable when I'm racing, and I'm not sure I want to put someone through me as a pit crew person. But no, that's not a bad idea to be fair. And yeah, I'm not an ultra runner, but I can stand being miserable for a long time. That's how I got through Europe's toughest and did better than a lot of other people because I can walk and be miserable for a long time. I'm a lawyer. I can be miserable for days.
Oh, you took the words right out of my mouth then.
Ain't no one can suffer like a lawyer. Well, there's lots of other people who can, but yeah. Right, let's just throw it off to the pub because it's not just about my decision. I know there's a lot of people in the pub now who are also thinking, what do I do? Do I pit crew? Do I race it? Do I support B because I believe B's going to go and try and get around WTM, which again is a fabulous cause, and I would do it. Other than we already discussed, I get miserable, so I would not be the right person to take anyone round WTM.
Yes, I think it's great that B and her team. She's already got a team together. I've seen it's getting bigger and bigger. That team. I can see it being 100 people strong at some point if that continues.
And probably win the prize money.
And probably win the prize money. If there is any. You haven't hit it here, people.
No, if there is any. But yeah, what's everyone's thoughts? What you doing? Help me try and figure out what I do. And whatever you say will probably influence me, but it's not a poll.
Exactly. I hope Matt B comes over and does another one of his documentaries that he did the other year, because I love that. It's maybe too early to do one this year, because on the back of it, but maybe next year the UK documentary would be good.
Or maybe we can do one, but probably just using our mobile phones because we don't have access to all that equipment. And then we just say it's Blair Witch 3 and make a fortune.
Love it, Blair Witch 3. Oh, that would be funny. That would be seriously funny.
Right, I think we've gone well and truly into lock-in territory now. Famous last words. You'll do your editing magic and it'll come out the usual length. But just in case we have hit the lock-in territory, I'm going to say, Alan, unless there's anything else you want to say,
No, continue.
it's a goodbye from me.
Listeners, thank you for taking your time out of your day to listen to us. It's always appreciated. Hope to see you on the course soon. And if not, you take care, you stay safe, you keep on running. Bye.